Joining me now with the special election edition of Ladies Night, Anna Palmer, senior Washington correspondent for Politico, Nan Hayworth, former New York Congresswoman and an independent Women's Forum board member, and Penny Nance, CEO and president of Concerned Women for America, all in power red today for the women out there. So, Anna, let me start with you. You covered this election from the very beginning, watched this huge rush of women. Was it as big a wave of women as it could have been? And what's the impact, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think clearly this is a high water mark for women in Congress. There's going to be more than 100 women in the House alone. That's huge. It definitely broke for Democrats. Democrats had more women running in these races. I think the big question going forward is going to be, can the Republicans try to also catalyze, find a catalyst for their women to get more active in some of these races? And can Democrats also say, hey, a lot of these women still didn't win, right? You had these big numbers up top. Right. Will they try to run in 2020? Will that momentum continue to build? All right,
here's Nancy Pelosi, one of the best-known women in Congress, of course. Here she is talking about the speakership.
Well, let me say that I will be the Speaker of the People's House, and the people will hear the commitments that he makes, and they'll see whether he can be trusted in that regard.
So she's basically saying there that she's going to work towards working together, and that President Trump said he wanted to also. What do you think, Nan? Is that going to happen?
It would be wonderful if it did, Martha. I see some roadblocks ahead, starting with Speaker Pelosi's, indeed, prospective election as Speaker. Let's face it, Martha, when it comes right down to it, and we laud the participation of women in politics, we laud, as I know from being the first female physician elected to a full term in Congress, no longer the only one. There were more this year, but it's great to have those barriers broken, but now it's all about policy. So it really is about what these women do for the whole American people when they get there. And Nancy Pelosi has not been about lifting burdens, but unfortunately about growing government. That disempowers women. As a woman, I'm concerned about that, and I hope she will work with the president.
All right. So a little bit about the question that I raised in the intro there about, whether or not women, because it was overwhelmingly Democrat women who won, I think 30 out of the 31 who are headed to the Hill are Democrats. Chelsea Handler basically chewing out white women for not voting for Beto O'Rourke in the Texas race. Watch this. Oh, you can't watch it. I'll read it. I'll do my best, Chelsea Handler, okay? 59% of white women voted for Ted Cruz. I don't know what it's going to take for us to be sisters to other women, but we have to do better than this, she says. And then she goes on to say, we need to vote for the best interests of others and stop thinking only about ourselves. I'm not really sure what she means by that, Penny, but have at it.
Yeah, and she goes on and says some other really inflammatory things, like castigating white women because we didn't vote for Beto overwhelmingly. In fact, they in Texas supported Ted Cruz. And the problem is, I think the left has a big blind spot when it comes to conservative women. We really annoy them that we won't do as we're told, that we speak for ourselves, beginning with 30 million women voting for President Trump. And then you had Madeleine Albright reminding us that there's a special place in hell if you don't support Hillary. Once again, especially in the Senate, you saw conservative women coming to the aid of certainly Cindy Hyde-Smith in Mississippi and Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee, but also taking down two liberal women, Claire McCaskill in Missouri and Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota. We carried the day in Florida and Texas and about 5 states. So we think for ourselves, if they actually want to carry our vote, they need to actually stop being dismissive and demeaning.
Yeah, it's interesting because women sort of don't necessarily rally around each other regardless of their political leaning.
That's true.
What do you think about that, Anna?
I think it's going to be something to watch, right? Because as the Congresswoman said, oftentimes where Pelosi is not necessarily where a lot of the Republican women have been. There has been more bipartisanship among women in the Senate to actually get some of these things done.
You think that they work together better?
They do work together. They work together on a lot of things, from passing the budget and really kind of helping move things along in the Senate. So the question, I think, is going to be, how does Nancy Pelosi, as a leader, say, she's going to lift up all of these women, not only Democrats, but as Republicans? Can they find a way to band together and potentially get things done?
And what about the sort of power structure and the old boy network? When you've got almost a quarter of the House women, does that eventually start to melt away? Or is it as big a problem as people think? think it is.
You know, Martha, when I was in the House, I mean, we had 10% of the House Republican Conference were women. It was just 10%, and I think that was actually a record number for us. But I have to tell you, yes, the women with whom I was privileged to work, including Kathy McMorris-Rodgers, who became the chairwoman of the House Republican Conference, were wonderful friends and mentors. Two of them are now senators, Marsha Blackburn, Shelley Capito. I have to say, the men in our conference welcomed us, elevated us, mentored us. So I really, as a woman in that conference, felt very much as though I was part of the team and considered important. And I don't think there's, you know, it's a canard to say that Democrats somehow own the cause of women.
I mean, I think the next goal is to get to the point where it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man.
Right.
It's all about your policy, what you're arguing for, what you want to
Post-feminist.
accomplish, and post-feminism.
That's right.
Amen to that.
I agree.
Thank you very much. Great to see all of you. Thanks for coming in tonight. So that is the story.